Imagine walking into a diner, expecting nothing but a meal, only to witness a moment that would restore your faith in humanity. That's exactly what happened one afternoon when an unassuming man in need encountered an act of kindness that would change his life forever. What unfolded next left everyone in the room speechless, including the man who made it all possible, Keanu Reeves, a man known for his humility and quiet strength. Welcome to Timeless Stories, the channel that brings you powerful stories of transformation and hope. Stick around to see how one small act of compassion created a ripple effect that no one could have expected. Let's dive into this unforgettable tale. It was a typical bustling afternoon at a popular diner in the heart of the city. The air was filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling burgers, and the chatter of patrons provided a lively backdrop. The door swung open abruptly, and a man stepped inside, his clothes worn and his face etched with desperation. He hesitated for a moment before approaching the counter. "Can I get something to eat?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Anything. I haven't eaten in days." The waiter, dressed crisply in his uniform, barely glanced at him before sneering. "This isn't a charity. You don't pay, you don't eat. Simple as that." The man flinched, his gaze dropping to the floor. "Sorry for bothering you," he muttered and turned to leave, his shoulders slumped in defeat. What neither the waiter nor the man realized was that they had been watched. In a corner booth, a figure sat quietly, a baseball cap pulled low over his face. His unassuming demeanor didn't betray his identity, but this man was no ordinary customer. This was Keanu Reeves, a world-renowned actor known for his humility and kindness. He had been quietly sipping his coffee, but the harsh exchange at the counter had his full attention. Keanu's sharp eyes followed the man as he shuffled toward the door. With calm determination, he stood, his presence commanding the room. "Hold on," Keanu called out, his voice firm yet steady. The waiter froze mid-step, turning toward the source of the voice. His eyes widened as he recognized the speaker. Keanu approached the counter, his expression unreadable, but his voice cutting through the tension. "Is this how you treat people in need?" "Sir," the waiter stammered, "it's just policy. We have standards here." "Standards?" Keanu replied, his tone unyielding. "Since when did basic decency and kindness lower anyone's standards?" The man at the door paused, unsure of what was happening. Keanu turned toward him, his voice softening. "Come back. Sit down. I'll take care of your meal." The diner went silent as all eyes turned to the unfolding scene. The man hesitated but slowly made his way to the booth Keanu had just vacated. He sat down, his expression a mix of confusion and gratitude. "What's your name?" Keanu asked as he sat across from him. "Matthew," the man replied, his voice shaky. I lost everything. My job, my home. I didn't know where else to go." Keanu nodded, his gaze steady. "You're not leaving here hungry, Matthew. Order whatever you need." He turned to the waiter, his voice firm again. "And make sure it's decent. No shortcuts. Understood?" The waiter gulped and nodded before rushing off to the kitchen. The other patrons whispered among themselves, their curiosity and admiration growing. As Matthew began to eat, Keanu leaned in slightly. "Matthew, have you thought about what's next? What are you going to do after this?" Matthew paused, the fork in his hand hovering midair. "I don't know," he admitted. "Just surviving day to day." Keanu's eyes narrowed, a spark of determination in them. "Surviving isn't enough. You need a plan, a way to get back on your feet. And we're going to start right now." Keanu stood and turned to the counter, calling for the manager. The manager approached hesitantly, clearly aware of the unfolding drama. "Mr. Reeves," he began, "I'm so sorry for the—" "I'm not interested in apologies." Keanu cut him off. "What I want is for you to give this man a real chance. Offer him a job, a trial, something to help him get back on his feet." The manager glanced nervously at Matthew and back at Keanu. "We don't usually hire people without experience." Keanu's voice was calm but carried a steel edge. "Experience? You don't need experience to start somewhere. What you need is someone willing to take a chance. Are you that someone, or are you going to keep making excuses?" The room was silent, the weight of Keanu's words hanging in the air. The manager hesitated but finally nodded. "Okay, he can start as a trial employee, but if he doesn't perform—" Keanu raised a hand to silence him. "He'll perform, and if he doesn't, I'll personally see to it that he gets the training he needs." Matthew's hands trembled as he stood, overwhelmed by the turn of events. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Don't thank me," Keanu replied. "Prove to yourself that you're capable of more. This is your chance." As Matthew walked toward the kitchen to meet his new co-workers, the room buzzed with murmurs of admiration and disbelief. Keanu turned back to the waiter, his gaze sharp. "And you, remember this moment. Decency isn't optional. It's the bare minimum." With that, Keanu returned to his booth, the quiet resolve in his demeanor speaking volumes. The diner slowly resumed its usual rhythm, but the atmosphere was different now. Matthew, with renewed hope and purpose, began what would become a transformative journey. And Keanu? He left the diner later that day, leaving behind more than just a generous act. He left a lesson that would resonate with everyone who witnessed it. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. Spread kindness whenever you can, because small actions have the power to create lasting change. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Timeless Stories for more uplifting stories of hope and humanity.